Hey, what is going on YouTube? Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. And guys, we are back in the Daring. What is still probably one of, if not the strongest legendary tier destroyers currently in the game. Now, of course, with the recent addition of the Z52 and the way that carriers work now, the Holland is in the conversation as well. And of course, the Kleber and the Kaba are fantastic gunboats. But when you combine every single trait that a destroyer needs, the Daring has all of them. Good guns, decent torpedoes, decent concealment. She does lack a little bit in terms of the top speed department, but those short duration smokes as well as that long short range hydro are all attributes that make this ship insanely effective during most standard matches. Now we are of course running the Reggie Turwit build. I will throw that up on the screen now. There's a few different builds you could play around with, but I just find that this one, coupled with the reload modification for the guns rather than the torpedoes, just works so well. In the past, I have used the legendary torpedo reload modification, but I just don't think it's necessarily worth it, especially with the rate of fire and how strong the AP and even the HE is on these guns.
Torpedoes to port.
But speaking of torpedoes, there are some on the way, and thank goodness we popped our hydro there, so we did pick them up. Anytime you're going into large bodies of water, especially from the spawn, you want to pop that hydro early. You do get 3 of them, they last 3 minutes. If you use them correctly, you can have hydro for over 50% of the game. Of course, the Z52, the Lucian, and a few other tier 8s can outrange your hydro, but if you use it correctly and you don't get yourself caught in a sonar hydro trap from one of the previous destroyers mentioned, this hydro is so effective. Coupled with your short smokes here, as you just see, we connected 2 torpedoes. We also set a permanent fire on the second Kurfürst that has come into our gun range. We have a few seconds left of our smoke screen, and if you look at the timer on our smoke screen, we have 20 seconds left until it is available again. That is when the Shima pops up. He decides to shoot. I'm gonna wait a bit here because I am actually concealed. The Shima decided to shoot at me, and some excellent focus fire from my team. The Shima is now in a difficult spot. Sometimes in those situations you don't want to shoot right away. As you can see, there is a few cruisers over there which did place a few decent shots on me. And something to also note when you are playing destroyers is the potential radar ranges of those ships. Des Moines 99, the Mino 99, all sitting there potentially at the edge of their ranges on me, so something I need to be aware of.
Problem solved, sir.
However, if you guys note my position, we kind of did that U-turn, or that J-hook as I like to call it, and we were able to safely escape that situation. Unfortunately, we were not able to get the permanent fire or flood on either of those Kurfürsts. However, by popping those damage cons for our team was able to get that damage, and any damage for the team is a win. On top of that, we also spotted the enemy destroyer, did a few points of damage from him, and spotted all of these ships. As you can see, we have 5 spotted icons for our team. So besides getting the capture point, which is basically non-existent in Capture the Base, we have done everything possible for our team in this situation. Now at this point in the game, we do have a sub-role of trying to find that Shimakaze. However, the Shima has since retreated, and I would be pushing into 1 now, but 2 hydro battleships and 2 radar cruisers. So don't, excessively ping your destroyer to go out and get the DDs at this point in the game. And going out of your way to try and find those destroyers by pushing into the Reds is definitely not an intelligent play. However, especially as a ship like the Daring and the Z52, you do have a responsibility to try and, at least distract or defend against those destroyers. But here, kind of sitting in this middle channel, I didn't want to get caught, which is kind of why I put myself in that situation. But also, I didn't want to sit in my smoke screen, as I knew that that Shima was probably going to torpedo it. However, we kind of have ourselves in a decent little position here. The Shima gets spotted. We switch to the AP because he is broadside. And as soon as we get those juicy hits, well, we don't get them on this particular occasion, but pay attention throughout the game because Using the AP, especially on a ship like the Daring when ships go broadside to you, is one of the most satisfying feelings in the game. A feeling that is not so satisfying, however, is having your friendly Shima torp a 2,000 health Shima right in front of you. It doesn't matter, we got the Shima off the board, and we are now moving on to the best available target. I want to draw your attention to the damage mark right now. We just passed 100k in 5.5 minutes with only 2 torpedo hits, and the flooding caused by those torpedoes didn't even do a majority of that damage. Further emphasizing the importance of proper zoning torpedoes, but more importantly, getting your guns in the fight, especially as a ship like the Daring and pretty much any destroyers with the obvious exception of the Shima. Now that being said, damage is not your primary role as a destroyer. Too many destroyer players are going out of their way to hunt and chase damage, and while that creates fun replays for you guys, and it is of course fun to get high damage, if you follow the principles by, like we talked about, going out trying to get the caps, trying to spot for your team, putting your destroyer in the right position, hunting enemy destroyers, you will end up with more games like this than you would if you go out trying to hunt and farm damage.
Our team has taken the lead.
And here is just a great example of how devastating this ship can be. That Republique was out there kind of, picking up what's remaining of his red team, and we spotted him briefly, popped our smoke, got a double fire, and launched a set of torpedoes for his direction, all before his turrets could even start to turn our way. And just like me when my girl says she's late, we are out of there and on to the next one. No, I'm just kidding. But we have changed location, and that is a decent strategy, especially when you are potentially being torpedoed or pushed by radar cruisers or other stronger hydro destroyers. A lot of players pop their smoke screen and sit in their smoke thinking that every other player is responsible for spotting for them, and while sometimes it is nice to damage farm, and I certainly do that a lot, if you refuse to move from your smoke, don't be surprised when a volley of torpedoes comes your way, or you get radared and absolutely blasted by the enemy. Some fantastic positioning on our part as we get the flood. We just got the Witherer, and there is the high caliber, all in kind of quick succession there. We launched some decent zoning torpedoes. That Montana is actually still flooding, as you can see. And here is when we switch to the AP. Even a battleship at kind of close range like this, you will see the absolute chunks we get. There was 23 or 2900. There was 2400. We get a beautiful superstructure shot. 4,300 followed up by another 2 or 3k there, and yeah, that guy, he lost 20 or 30k just from us in about 20 or so seconds. Of course, having your reload maxed out is obviously going to help, but even without the reload or the legendary reload mod, these guns are absolutely disgusting. This game was one of those typical Legends one-sided affairs. However, I believe our positioning and influence in this game was a large reason for that. By quickly getting into position, spotting for our team, getting some torpedoes and damage on target, and by hard countering the enemy Shimas, we allowed our team to get into position, eliminate the appropriate radar cruisers, so shout out to our team for that, and we were able to roam free. Battleship players, when you support your destroyer players, the game is much more fun for everyone. And shout out to this enemy Shima for not, completely running away. He decides to open up here and engage his guns. I hate when destroyer players run to the back of the map. We open up with the AP, we get the Confederate. We took out his engine, so that second and, that follow-up salvo wasn't really the best there, but you can just absolutely see the decimation of using AP on broadside destroyers. But there is the Daring, folks, one of the top picks for Bureau projects, in my opinion, and, tied with the Z-52 and the Holland right now for the best destroyer at legendary tier. I know I make a lot of these videos, of course, it's just for the engagement, but there's a 32-76 finish, 3 total kills, Confederate, high caliber, and of course the Toxic Witherer there. Anytime I'm not really having fun in this game, which seems like a lot more now than it has been in the past, I just hop in one of these ships like the Daring and just try and go out and truly influence the battle, and this is probably one of the best ships to do that in. The combination of hydro, guns, torpedoes, health, smoke, and heals just makes this ship a chef's kiss in my opinion. Shout out to the British for finally doing something right. No, I'm just kidding. But that's the video, guys. Patch notes potentially soon. I will see you guys maybe tonight. Who knows? Love you guys. I'm out. Peace.